Morning, folks. I was able to get a third one in, though I've left it to the morning, if you don't mind. I'm about to get myself all spruced up for my little trip to see chums in Malaga, which I'm very much looking forward to. But I thought I'd start the weekend on a very positive note, which is I just finished the really delightful Roald Dahl, Quentin Blake illustration, 1970 edition of Fantastic Mr. Fox. Now, thinking about this, do you know something? I wonder if this might be the first Roald Dahl I've read absolutely all of. For whatever reason, I was never. I think I saw his books in the kind of library as a child, but I don't know. I never particularly. Maybe I was a bit intimidated by them. I think there seemed to be so many of them, and I don't know. It just didn't particularly grab me. And then obviously, growing up with my beautiful daughter, who was an early reader and very passionate reader, she loved Roald Dahl, and there were certainly times when I read chapters of books to her, but I don't think I particularly. I don't think we ever did a complete book together in the time we had together, right? So anyway. Now, obviously, I'm aware of Roald Dahl, and I read many years ago his autobiography of the kind of thing. It kind of goes up to his time in the RAF, or it may have just been concentrating on his time in the RAF, his incredibly perilous time. Was it in Corfu, or certainly it was in the Greek theatre of war, wasn't it, when he was a lone Spitfire fighter against many German planes and all this kind of stuff. And I'm also aware of him as a literary and cultural figure, of course, and there's also been all the movies, and there's been the controversy in the last few years, the story about him and his daughter dying of the measles, and his kind of work to try and find I think he created a medical device, didn't he, to kind of help fight that kind of condition. And he has been to some extent cancelled, and okay, you want to cancel him, you cancel him, but for me, certainly based on this book, I would also need to say that I adored the animated movie of Fantastic Mr. Fox with George Clooney playing Mr. Fox. But I can't, literally, apart from remembering how lovely the design was and how just generally charming it was, I cannot remember a single thing about the story. So I couldn't remember if the animation particularly diverges from this story. So I went in pretty fresh. I can't wave a copy of the book around like I normally do, because this was done online as it's part of my English teaching. In fact, we'll probably finish the book together with my student tomorrow morning. So I'm kind of reading this as an adult, fairly kind of open to persuasion, and I was delighted. I'd say a big part of the impact of the book is the Quentin Blake, who is just such a lovely, distinct style that I think really brings the story alive, and he feels everyone's got a bit of character. Normally quite a mean, twisted character. The humans are always pretty grotesque, really, aren't they? Or certainly the grown-ups, aren't they, right, in these kind of stories? I should say that obviously I love probably all the movies, to be honest with you, of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. It's just I never read the book, and maybe I will one day. But anyway, what would I say about this book? Now, if you don't know the book and you were thinking of reading it either for yourself or your children, I would say it's a little bit tough vocabulary in some places. He's very big on superlatives, and things are enormous and marvelous and gigantic and things like this, and that's fine, because that's just the kind of oomph you need for a children's story, I think, to kind of help drive the story along. There's a lot of humour. Some of it must go over children's heads, kind of thing, but I don't think they match. I think they probably know it's a tiny bit naughty. It's not sexual, but it's a little bit naughty, isn't it? And it's a little bit about greed. Gluttony is a theme of the book, really. And, the animals indulge in it as much as the humans, but the humans are, selfish and mean and avaricious, and as all good fairy story type villains should be. Whereas, back to Chanticleer, aren't we? Where the fox is, naturally crafty and cunning and smart and all that kind of stuff. Things that really stuck out for me were there's a fair amount of brutality. There's a fair amount of talk about killing, shooting, exterminating. I don't think that word is used, but the farmers are pretty determined to kill as many, the whole of the family as they can. There's talk about starvation. There's certainly a lot of peril. But there's also some interesting ethics in the story, and there's a very crucial scene between Fox and Badger. I love children's stories with badgers in them anyway, right? Where they debate and the relative morality of what they're trying to, and Badger says, well, essentially we're stealing. And Mr. Fox's position is that, well, I guess we are, but we're doing it to survive, whereas we would never kill beyond having to survive, and essentially these guys can afford to lose it, kind of thing. So I'm not sure that would certainly be an interesting topic to debate with a child, I think, about the relative rights and wrongs. But another kind of thing that definitely comes through is there's a lot of family love and there's a lot of affection, and Mr. Fox and his family, there's lots of love and darlings and genuine care and affection, and the small foxes are done very, very well. There's a very funny bit where the dad calls him a twerp, which is a word you haven't heard for a long time, have you, or read for a long time, I'm sure. But that's just because the boys, we don't have to spoil it. The small fox is pointing out that if they're stealing food for their fellow animals, they need vegetables as much as meat, and that's a nice possible little point of discussion, I would say. The humans are portrayed, I think, which is a common characteristic in Dahl, is my impression, that they're often portrayed as physically unattractive or fat, reflecting bad character, which again is an interesting point and could be discussed, and I think works very well. It was quite interesting trying to explain phrases like pot-bellied dwarf and midget to my student, which you wouldn't really say now, would you, kind of thing. Pot-bellied, I think, is perfectly fine, but all the rest of it, kind of thing. And I think there's a lovely, I don't want to do a spoiler particularly, but I mean, there's a lovely denouement, and there's a great, Tolkien talks that we have so many stories end in catastrophe, and he talks about the eucatastrophe, doesn't he, right? Where the unexpectedly great end to the story, where the story goes into the broad sunlit uplands, as it were, kind of thing. And that's definitely the case in this story. And there's a very funny ending. So I think there's lots of things that I would see parents would see as positive, perhaps balancing out your idea of Dahl being, a cancel guy, because I think there's a lot of family affection, there's a lot of care, there's a lot of bravery. There's a lot of skill displayed by the animals. There's a lot of cooperation. Those are all very positive things, I think. I think there's themes about greed, about hoarding, about there's an ecological aspect, which is kind of perhaps slightly, is it that surprising for 1970? The mechanical tractors and digging up the hill and destroying the environment. That's, again, something that I think kids might be interested in, pick up on. So, not in a kind of terribly didactic way, but I think there's a lot to think and teach about and discuss in this book. I think there's some great, lively, active sentences. There's lots of, I said the vocabulary is not too hard, kind of thing. Most of it is about, there's a lot of food vocabulary. There's a lot of pretty good physical descriptions. There's a lovely sentence where the feast turns into a banquet, which I think is an interesting distinction, isn't it? Kind of thing. So I would say it's a really good book. I really enjoyed reading it. I think it rocks along really quickly. I think the illustrations are great. Again, it's one of those books I've been doing in this series where I wish I had a physical book. So I think, just turning the pages and looking at the illustrations would be really nice, and be really nice to do with a younger child. and it would be a 5 out of 5 for me. I mean, scored a bullseye here, and that's another phrase that comes out of the book that I taught my student. So, very happy with this, very good. I don't have it, I got it online. Would I reread it? Yes, I would. Would I buy a physical copy of the Quentin edition? Yes, I would, actually. And I would certainly think it would be a great book if you've not read it. You absolutely can read it in an hour if you're an adult, but I think it's best probably for a child, to be read with a child and to be enjoyed with a child. And so that is my review this lovely morning of little bit of sunshine coming through there. Not a little bit of a cold night, not too bad, but the weather's turning a little bit, but it's still lovely. And I would say, very much think about it if you think about maybe a Christmas present for children. Excellent book, very happy with it. Thank you for your attention. Keep on attacking, that's TBR. My next book, I did hint about this. I'm gonna try and read a bit of Michael Mosley over the weekend. I'm going to be trying to apply a bit of Michael Mosley tactics from next week for reasons I'll explain. And so I'm going to be looking at his blood sugar diet book, which has been heavily recommended to me, and I'll let you know what I think next week. So have a great weekend, everyone. Enjoy whatever you're doing. Do some reading. See you later. Okay, bye-bye.